Hello, and welcome to In the Wings podcast. I am your host, Scott Dunlap, and this week I am here with Dawn Hendrix and Lauren Mund. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Woo-hoo.
Okay, so for the first question, I hope is pretty easy. We're going to start off with a simple one. Just tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do. We'll start with Dawn.
My name is Dawn Hendrix. I'm 44. I am a data analyst by day.
What is that? What does that mean?
So I work at Erlanger Health Center, and I am a health data analyst in the utilization review department, which makes no sense to anyone. I fight with insurance companies. And
I can understand. Okay.
Yes, I help to prove that they are not doing what they should be doing as far as paying for people's hospitalizations and figuring out who are the worst offenders and trying to make that right. So,
that's awesome.
Lots of data gathering.
That I can understand. I can get behind.
It's
as
fun.
well.
And then I also officiate weddings on the side. So
Awesome.
It's fun.
Very cool. Welcome. And Lauren, tell us about you.
My name is Lauren Mund, and I'm 23 years old, and I am a nanny. So by day, I am a little clown for an almost 2-year-old. And
2 is a good age, though.
yeah.
I mean, at least, you get nap times, first of all.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, I was a manny for
Oh,
a 2-year-old.
really?
Yes, one summer. Zoella Gertrude, we called her, and she just had her first baby. So I feel really
oh my
old.
Gosh.
You're a grand manny now.
I'm a
grand manny.
I love it. It's awesome. Anything else that you wanted to tell us about you? You went to school here, right?
I did. I came to Chattanooga to go to UTC, and I got a BA in theater.
And where are you from?
I'm originally from Clarksville, Tennessee. It's near Nashville.
Yeah.
And I grew up doing theater in Nashville and in Clarksville. So
Very cool.
yeah.
All right. So tell us how you got here. What brought you to CTC?
My first audition for CTC was for Hairspray. I thought, hey, I'm a fat girl. But I neglected to think about the dancing component, which is kind of big in that show. I'm more of a strong mover than a dancer.
Same.
And so I did not get cast in that show, but my first show here was Les Mis, which was a huge audition. And I thought,
Epic.
Just put me in the ensemble, which they did. And so I was whore number 4. Very proud of that. But it was.
I do think that is how you were listed in the playbill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was very fun. I got to wear my first of many corsets on stage.
Mm-hmm.
And
I put you in that corset, I believe.
You did, yeah. And laced up by many friends and then later enemies. So it was good. And then I've just been doing shows. I think this will be my 11th show in 10 years.
Wow.
Oh, that's awesome. Very nice.
I think, if I counted right.
And what brought you, Lauren?
I think my first show here was The Sound of Music, directed by Scott Dunlap
That's
himself. And I played a nun and was in the ensemble.
Cool. So you also have worn corsets.
Yes. In Pride and Prejudice.
Pride and Prejudice here.
Yes.
Our production. So here, this is totally, I'm going rogue, y'all.
Do it.
Okay, so I have a friend in college. It's like a love-hate relationship with corsets because like you fight it, but then like I've had many actresses say it's kind of nice because once it's on, you kind of don't have to think about your posture because you can't go anywhere or do anything.
Yes, I was just thinking that. I was like, it kind of is like that's your posture now. Right? Yeah.
And your dress always fits the exact same.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And it's helpful because you don't have to really support your voice if you're singing because you're in that position of like diaphragm engaged. I'm going to
Yeah.
sing now. And it's very powerful. And, as long as you're ready for it,
Right.
it's, yeah.
Well, and then my styles teacher, again, this is all hearsay, so we're just gabbing, it's just girls talk, but it's coming through other women that I've known. My styles teacher said you always have to eat 30 minutes before or 30 minutes after, but nowhere near the time of putting on the corset because it's going to come out one end or the other.
And the other thing is the shoes. I always forgot to put my shoes on before the corset.
That's
and
so
then
true.
I'm like, who's going to help me lace
know,
up
I'm
my
like,
shoes?
help me.
Right? It's ridiculous. But once I found that I could lace myself in and not leave it to someone else, I was a lot more comfortable because I had both this isn't quite tight enough and the dear God, please someone help me adjust this at intermission because the ladies are just spilling out everywhere. So it's
and it's interesting, again, like as things progress, like each show I learn a little something, and I have started telling the ladies if there are corsets in a show to make a list. You think you know how to get dressed, but you do not know how to get dressed because your instinct is like, let me put that on first, but no. You have to start with like hosiery and shoes first, then all the under things. A lot of people don't realize we should probably do a video about that at some point. But like there's literally like 3 or 4 layers of stuff before you get to the dress if you're in a period piece.
A foundation, garments, and
Yeah, absolutely.
am I going to put the mic on under the corset or over the corset, depending on costume changes?
Yes,
And
that's
the
another
whole
thing. Even with Lacage that we just did, they were discovering, because John Thomas was, of course, wearing women's undergarments to make parts exist that didn't exist,
Right.
Finding the place of where to put the mic and what to hang it on to. And then he also had wig changes. So
Right.
multiple aspects of theater that you don't think about until like day 2 of Tech Week.
Right. I saw a video on TikTok of Broadway actresses putting their mic pack under a wig cap. So they actually put on one wig cap for the hair and then do all the pinning and then put the mic pack and then another wig cap so that with wig changes, they didn't have to worry about cords or
that's
any
smart.
of that stuff.
That is
and
really
I thought,
smart.
my head is so big, though, that you could not get another
Well,
straight air.
I
in
think they're
my
making
wig.
the equipment smaller and smaller as part of it too.
That's probably true.
I saw a production of Bye Bye Birdie on Broadway in which Gina Gershon was Rosie. I mean, she was great. It was interesting. It's not who I would have picked. But because it was Gina Gershon, they were like, we have to put her in her underwear. So she had a scene where she changed, and you could see they had sewn 2 mic packs into the buttocks of her panties. So she had like a square butt, which was kind of weird.
That is so odd.
It is odd, but also a lot of people don't realize this. Like professionally, they do wear 2 mics. That way, if one goes out or if one is acting up, they have a backup. And here we
know
don't
that.
have
I
that.
didn't know that either.
Yeah,
Is that just like principals or?
I'm assuming just probably
Yeah.
principals,
Yeah.
probably your leading ladies for sure. Like Pat, you don't want a mic to go out on Patty LaPone. She'll yell at you.
Yeah.
She will yell at you and take someone's phone from the audience and use it as a makeshift MacGyver, speaker system. It would be fun to watch.
Or terrifying, really. I mean, I have seen her on Broadway, and it was like a little bit of like, please, I hope nothing, you kind of hope nothing goes wrong, but at the same time, you kind of want something to go wrong. So you have that story.
I was in the
of like-
audience when she scalped someone or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. She
We love
she
you,
did not
Patty
scalp
LaPone.
anyone.
Right.
Just
That was totally conjecture
allegedly.
for the purpose of humor.
So you're both here for Waitress, which is our season opener at the Theater Center. We're very excited about the show. A lot of people don't realize that I think there's only 2 theaters in the state, maybe 3 in the state of Tennessee that are doing it, and the other 2 are professional theaters. So we're the only community theater in the state of Tennessee that is even allowed to produce this show. We were offered the contract, so that was kind of special as well. So we also had a huge turnout for auditions. So what was that like? What was auditioning like for this show?
It was really, I came into it just like, I'm going to have fun and
That's the way to
not
do
be
it.
overwhelmed by how many people are here. Cause I was like, I know that they added a whole nother night because of,
We did.
there was so much interest in it, which makes sense. Waitress is amazing.
The music is just amazing.
Yes, absolutely. And for me personally, it was just really fun because I came in to it with a mindset of I'm just here to have fun. I don't care if I get in the ensemble. Whatever happens, happens.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
That's because Lauren is precious. And now I will tell you the other side of the coin. I was in a full-blown panic. I brought crocheting with me to have something to occupy the nervous energy, and I think that helped.
Uh-huh.
I also was very overwhelmed about what is the dance call going to look like, because
Right.
that is where I live and breathe, is the I am a strong mover.
Listen, there are shows I have not auditioned for because I just don't want to do the dance.
Same.
It's like you know what? I know it's going to be rough, and it's just not. Even if my character didn't dance, you still have to go through the dance audition.
Right.
And I've just been like, nope,
Yeah.
I don't feel it today.
When I did Newsies, the dance call nearly killed me because it's a bunch of teenagers
Right.
dancing and tapping. And for the callbacks, I knew I was being called back for Meta Larkin. And so I asked the director, do I have to go to the dance callback? And she kind of tilted her head and was like, no, you're good. And
Right. Like what?
why
what-
would you make me suffer like this? I mean, waltz around on stage and make faces at people and sing, and that's it. So.
Right. I mean, with what little power I have at CTC, I might suggest that we do have a divided call. I mean, that would be amazing even at the audition. Like, if there was 2 levels of dance, like, you know,
Right.
can you just move or show me what you got.
Right.
Yeah.
And I know that we do show me what you got musicals. Those,
Absolutely.
And so with Waitress, you were just uncertain of what that was going to be like.
Right,
Especially
and
if we
so
have a new choreographer. So
Right.
what are her
Someone
expectations?
we've never worked with. And she was great. And it ended up being
Bless
more of
you.
like a rhythm call. And I've got rhythm. So I was not worried about that.
I got rhythm.
Right. And so that worked out. But I was a full on stress ball of anxiety the whole time. I always try to come to the last night of auditions. So there's less time in between the announcement for callbacks.
that's smart.
Interesting.
Because I do not manage my anxiety well.
That's an interesting sort of plan. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you're the last person in the director's head, and for better or for worse. And so ended up working out. And same thing for callbacks. I brought crocheting and tried to be mindful and do all the therapy tricks I've learned.
So what, like, let me just play therapist for a second. What is that anxiety about? What do you think? I mean, is it, here's what, from an outside point of view, here's what I will tell you. As a director, the big secret is we don't know what we're looking for. You are not in competition with anyone else. It is literally just you.
Right.
So don't let the inner saboteur, as RuPaul would say, win. Right?
For sure.
It's not about the other people. And even I will even say for a dance audition, even though I personally have my own things and they're all in my head, when I'm watching them as a director, I'm not like, oh, bless that poor baby. You know what I mean? I'm not thinking in that way at all. I'm literally like, most of the time it's like, oh, everybody did it. Okay, well, that doesn't help me at all.
Right.
Because everybody's kind of on the same footing. You have some people that are going to step out, and of course the choreographer's like, oh, well, I definitely want them.
Right.
You know, if it's a tap dance musical or something like that, sure.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
I think the anxiety for me is mostly I want to do my best so that at the end of the day I can say, I went out there, I gave it my all, and they didn't choose me, and that's okay. But having that moment of, I could have done so much better, and what if I don't get cast now because I didn't have a good showing? And so that's one of the things I tell new people when they come to audition too, like auditioning is a skill.
that's true.
And if you've
Absolutely.
never auditioned before, you should audition for things you really don't even necessarily want to be in. Not
Right.
like, oh, I hate that musical, but
Right.
just things that you're not sure about, because auditioning is a skill set and you have to be ready to like turn it on at an instant and follow directions really well. And the theater center does great auditions. You don't have to have a monologue or a
Right.
song prepared. So you literally show up, learn something, and show what you'd be like in the ensemble. Like, I can listen to directions and I can, smile even when I'm panicking on the inside and things like that. So it's more about, am I going to show them the best that I can show? And that's just my whole life anxiety. So
Well, and so a couple of things there. One, like you said, auditioning for things that you're not really especially like we what happens is like, so we both auditioned for Into the Woods, and I'm highly competitive as well. Even though I know as a director it's not me against somebody else, it's me against me. But sitting in the room, I'm like, I'm taking them down. It's happening. Like, I cannot help it. Like, becomes like the Olympics, right? But I will also say we've had people will come and audition for things where they're like, I'm just auditioning for practice. And I'm like, then you're not really auditioning, because so the caveat there is I think you should audition for things you're willing to be in, even
For
if you're
sure.
not
Yes.
excited about it.
Yes.
Right.
You know, like, and on the flip side of that, like Beth Gumnick, who we've also interviewed, and she's the director of your show, she auditioned for Sister Act, not really knowing anything about it, not really, she's like, it seems like it might be kind of fun. I don't know, I'm doing it, and blah, blah. And she's like, it's one of her favorite experiences, and she still talks about it. And I think that happens a lot too, because when you're kind of chill and laid back and you're like, you know what, I'm just going to do this thing and see what happens, the whole world opens up to you because the pressure's gone, the anxiety is gone.
Absolutely. And I definitely have struggled with anxiety in the past, and I'm just now at a point where I can try and, meditate before I go audition,
Right.
do the mindfulness things like you were talking about. Like, I even crochet just like you, just because it's so fun. But yeah.
And honestly, doing the Christmas show 2 years ago, Every Christmas Story Ever Told,
Yes.
was kind of that for me. I knew I had friends auditioning, so I was like, I'm just going to go audition. It's a Christmas show. It'll be fun. I know nothing about it, but it's not a musical. So I was like, I'll just do it. And it ended up being, to this day, one of the best things I've ever done for my life. Like, yes, it was amazing theater, but like it was very transformational for me, like as a person and new friends and like our sweet Tay and just it was ended up being like a wonderful experience. And I didn't anticipate that in my
That's so cool how it
thing.
can be like that, or how it can just surprise you.
yeah, it was amazing.
Now, how this is again sidebar. Sorry, I haven't even gotten to the question that's on my card, but you're just intriguing to me. So, how does it work at UTC? Do you guys have to audition for stuff there? Or are you just assigned? Like when I was in school, we were just assigned roles because they're like, "This is what we want you to work on."
So I graduated in 2020, but the way it worked there was it was like an audition, like you were practicing like it was a cattle call, pretty
Gotcha.
much. So you would come in with your own monologue, 16-bar cut, or whatever. Yeah.
And was that nerve-wracking, or was that? I mean, it's hard to replicate that anxiety in a room full of people that you see every day too.
Yeah, I can definitely. It was a little less nerve-wracking than like I guess a real cattle call is, because you do know like there's only a certain amount of people, and you know all of them, and you know the director, and it's
Right.
like more familiar.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, yeah. Sorry.
Guess
so awkward.
what? Yes, it was
What?
awkward. Or yes, it was. What were you saying?
I think I just finished my thought.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. All right. So, what role do you play in Waitress?
So very confusingly, I do not play Dawn.
Right.
I played Becky, who is kind of a been around the block and come back again, mama bear with attitude kind of waitress.
I think of her, for me, my generation, she's like the Flo and Alice. She's the Kiss My Grits waitress.
Right. And so she's got some attitude, which takes some effort, but I can pull that off.
I wonder why they cast you.
I wonder. I get a lot of character acting, which, if you've ever been in a conversation with me or talked to my child, I have a lot of faces.
Yes,
And
you're
so
very
getting
subtle.
to be expressive on stage is super fun. So
Yeah.
I play
Never
Becky.
know what you're thinking, ever.
Yes, I once had a boss tell me that I was an HR nightmare. Thank you, Jenny. Because even if I didn't say it out loud, my face said it for me. So I've been working on that.
And what about you, Lauren? Who do you play?
Confusingly, I play Dawn in the
Gotcha.
show.
That must be fun in rehearsrsal.
Yes, we've kind of had to just start going by our character names because it's like
right.
Dawn. We both look.
Right.
So
So I just ignore unless someone says Becky. And most everybody is on board with it. I think occasionally someone will slip up, but it's been pretty good. So.
What is Dawn character? What is she like?
Dawn's character, she is a sweet little anxious nerd who just is so nervous about everything and wants to find love and also has like OCD tendencies. So she likes everything very particularly in order because that makes her feel very safe.
Okay, so here's the crux of this. Before we sat down, I said, this is so weird because, Lauren, every interaction I've had has been like, just do this and go. Like, it's been a drive-by because I've either been the director or the costumer or whatever, and there hasn't been a lot of interaction. So, and yet Dawn, I have, not only have I directed her, but like we have had talks. So we know each other a little bit. So tell me, do you relate to Dawn, the character?
In some ways, I do relate to Dawn, the character. Definitely just anxiety, definitely. But, like, I'm working on it for me personally. I mean, Dawn hasn't worked on it yet at the beginning of the show. But she, she kind of, like, finds love and opens up. Spoiler. But, and also, this is so funny. There's, like, a part of the show that's about how she likes historical reenacting, and my dad used to do historical reenacting when I was a kid. So, like,
really?
there's pictures of me in, like, Revolutionary War clothes. Like,
It's even Revolutionary War.
yes,
which is
just
the same
like out the
as
show.
play. Yeah, that's
so it's
crazy.
so funny. I was like, oh, yeah, that's really
That's
funny.
awesome. That's really
Our little
cool.
Betsy Ross.
That's really awesome. By the way, I've ordered your costumes, and we hope that they're here soon.
Oh, yes.
So what have you done? What have you done to prepare for this role? Did you do anything in advance? Like, I mean, how did you come into it? What have you been doing in rehearsal or on your own to get ready for this? Is there anything that's different or that's been challenging for you?
I'll go first. Becky has some, like, relational issues. As you find out, she is married to an invalid, and so she is in a relationship, but it's not what you would consider like happily ever after romance kind of relationship. And I have some experience in that area with the not so happily ever after romance. So just it's been interesting to see how she is this kind of snarky, take no nonsense, but also very tender with the girls. She's kind of like the mama bear wanting to take care of them. And so being able to deal with her own kind of issues and know that, yeah, my life isn't perfect, but that's not going to keep me from taking care of the people that I love. And so I try to be that person and, lots of therapy. We all love therapy. But also like I have a son and he's 14 and I'm very much I got my eyes on both him and everyone around him. So I know he is not necessarily going to always be an angel, but I still want to protect him. And then, finding love in an unexpected place. And I kind of did that as well, married a widower. And I don't know, it's been interesting to see the parallels, but then also the differences. I do not have to change my husband's diapers. So that is
right. That's a big difference.
Yes, that is a big difference. But yeah, it's been interesting to see the correlation and how my emotions feel in a scene when it's just me watching versus, how does Becky feel about this?
Well, and it is also interesting as juxtaposed to Dawn, the character, Becky, so we never get to see that aspect. If anyone is worried about watching Dawn change diapers, we don't watch that happen.
No, we don't.
He's not even really a character that we get to see. So it's interesting as an actor to have to bring a whole world that affects your world into the diner.
Right.
And how that affects somebody. And I think that's one of the things that the play does really beautifully is you kind of see why people are the way they are instead of it unfolds instead of like just being forthright. You don't see every aspect of everybody's life.
Right. It would be a 14-hour show if that was the case.
Right.
But you just kind of get glimpses through the dialogue or the songs about like what they've been through and why they are the way they are, and then get to see the choices they make and go in different directions sometimes than their past has put them in.
And it's also interesting. We talked about this in the other podcast, but I just have to bring it up since it's just us talking. No one is listening. It's okay. The other aspect of it that I find interesting is that Jenna, the central character, makes some really bad choices. All of the girls kind of make some bad choices, or at least questionable choices. And it's so interesting to me how the people kind of are more critical of women making bad choices than when we have male characters where they're the anti-hero like Don Draper on Mad Men, and we celebrate him or we understand him or we justify him, or you know what I mean? How do you relate to that as an actress, as a person, when you have to do something that you wouldn't really do in real life? I mean, if you're a murderer in something, that's really cool and fun. But when you're just kind of making bad human decisions, which we all do, how do you deal with that?
I guess just that, that is human nature. Like, everyone has the capacity for, good and bad, and, they're a product of their environment and, what they grew up with, and all of that can, turn into whatever actions they are doing now.
Right. And I think, too, you see a lot of kind of hate on Jenna for this behavior, but then you have a married doctor literally in the same situation as she is, albeit not as stressed probably, because even though, yes, he moved from Connecticut, he is happily married, we suppose, and he's not under any kind of duress. He's not being beaten by his wife or whatever.
Right.
And so he's making these choices right along with her, and a power dynamic is at play. So you've got the doctor is, doctors aren't allowed to fraternize with patients because there's that power difference.
Yeah.
And so you get all this hate for this young waitress who's in a difficult situation, and people are like, oh, well, about Dr. Pomander. And I'm like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
But there's a lot of difference about how we treat women versus and their behavior, especially if it can be at any way scandalized,
Right.
We are just all over that nonsense.
Well, and the other part of it, I think, is, again, if we're doing the Scottish play, if you don't know what the Scottish play is, you'll just have to Google it because I'm not going to say it in the theater. Yeah. But if you're doing the Scottish play, you do have this character who does horrible, horrible things, kills people to get power and all this. And we look at that as, that's not modeling behavior for anyone. We're not saying do this, right? But somehow Jenna is like, oh, she's a bad role model. How are we supposed to, I think everything that we do, every play, every musical should have something to talk about on the way home. And maybe the thing to talk about is don't ever do that.
Yeah,
you know?
Right? Or don't judge people because you don't know what their situation looks like.
Right.
You see a pregnant waitress at a diner and you make assumptions about, oh, she's really young, or, oh, I didn't see a ring on her finger. Well, maybe her hands are swollen. You don't know.
Right.
Or whatever. People make choices and you don't understand what led them to those choices and what in their life has kept them from making better ones. We don't have that foresight when we talk about other people, but we expect the mercy of don't make assumptions about me.
Right.
And I am really good at that. I'm always very precious about people. But no,
it's true. It's something everybody struggles with.
Right. It's that thing. It's like a little salacious, tidbit we want to, sensationalize in our head, but we all want the grace of just give me the benefit of the doubt. And I think Gracie could really use that from the people in her life. And so even though
you mean
Becky,
Jenna, Gracie.
Oh, sorry.
Gracie's
Gracie's
the actress.
character. She is
Gracie
precious.
is
There's no scandal there.
Yes.
But Jenna can really use that from the people in her life. And luckily she has Dawn, who is coming from a pure place of love and kittens, because she doesn't have that kind of, badness.
Character
right.
Dawn is
right.
coming
Character
from
Dawn. Right. Yes. Character Dawn.
Yeah.
And character Becky is like, listen, there will be no judgment here because you never know what situation you're going to end up in.
So how do you feel? What have you done to prepare or think about as far as character Dawn? What is that been like? Because you said you came into the auditions with no expectations.
I really didn't, but then I got a call back for Dawn, and I love comedy, being silly and quirky and stuff, and so that just called to me, and obviously I guess it worked out.
Right.
So but for me, especially just being in a musical, and it's been a while since I've been a featured role in a musical, to prepare vocally has been really important for me to be in my better tip-top vocal shape.
It's a tough musical, yeah.
And having the stamina to sing and move at the same time, that's definitely something.
And there's a lot of music in this.
Yes.
And it's not super easy.
No.
It's sort of like folk pop is, maybe the best way to describe it. We keep trying to struggle. It's not your usual musical. It's no Sound of Music.
Yeah.
And
but it's also not Les
it.
Mis.
True.
Yeah.
But it's still pretty difficult.
Yeah.
And there's so much character in your songs, especially.
Right.
So you can't just slip into singer mode.
Yeah.
It's very
it's
much.
All, it's every part of my brain is all happening at the same time. And I'm like,
She's killing it though.
And for those that are listening that don't know, character mode, this is something I struggle with both as a director and as a character actor.
yes.
Is the character roles are not supposed to sing pretty. We're supposed to sing the notes properly, but how we make those notes might be funny or quirky, or if you have an accent or whatever. So you are juggling more because you're kind of trying to be truthful and honor the person that you're playing.
It's a balance that you're always trying to find.
Because if Dawn just slips out into her best Celine Dion, you'll be like, what is going on?
Yeah.
Why is she singing that way?
And she does lots of little exclamations in her songs too. And so it's the slipping in and out of
I know. And it's so fast. It's it's kind of like a patter song at some points.
Yeah.
So it's definitely working on my cardio.
And it's all, the full range too. It's not like one of those songs that you sing 4 or 5 notes. She's up and down in her register and flipping into these little lilty sections that's so appropriate for that. But then it's a marvel to watch. It's really cool.
Why did you want this role? Why did you want to be a part of this, I guess, is really what we should start, is why did you want to be in Waitress? What about it attracted you, at least initially?
I have, since the soundtrack came out when it was on Broadway, I've always listened to it. I've always like loved it. And I also love the movie it's based off of.
Oh,
Which
you were what, 2 when that
well,
came
I
out?
can watch it on Amazon. But yeah, I do love the movie too, and I definitely
a good movie.
relate to Dawn, and I'm really excited that I get the chance and the honor to be able to do it when not a lot of theaters are getting to do it right now. It's really exciting.
Right. Well, there's also something. I mean, I'm not to put too much pressure on you,
Yeah.
but the woman who wrote the movie, and I don't know if she directed it. I can't remember.
Was Dawn in the movie?
She played Dawn in the movie, and then
Yes.
she was murdered.
Yes.
So there's this this is her sort of legacy.
Yes.
She was on the up. She was rising, and I always think about this when we do something like Little Women, or even something like Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory or whatever, that these authors sat in a room by themselves and created these people. Even Charles Dickens created these people, and the characters that they create are so interesting that they have this lasting power that people want to play them. They want to tell their stories. They want to live in their skin. And so I would think it would be thrilling in a way, and have a lot of gravity at the same time, that you're honoring this person who created this role kind of for herself.
Yes.
To feature what she could do and kind of show the world, hey, here I am.
Yeah. Absolutely. That's definitely a lot to think about.
Again, I don't mean to make it too heavy, but
Oh yeah, for sure.
but it is cool.
Yeah, it's
kinda
just
cool.
such the lore of Waitress, I guess.
Yeah.
It's interesting to get into.
And Dawn, why did you want to audition?
It's kind of a unique situation to have 3 female, not leads necessarily, but I mean 3 principals that are females. That's not widely done in theater. So getting to be in a tight little group, like a girl group from the 60s, that's the kind of music I listened to growing up. So being in that little trio is nice, but also to have a character actress that, it's not an ingenue, it's not, but it's also some vocal work. You don't just have something quirky to do. So you get to actually park and bark and sing a whole song. And so I look for the roles that give me a little bit more to do. When I was single, I just took any old, literally stick me in the ensemble and give me a shroud to put over my head and I'll do it. And now I have to be a little more selective. And so I look for those roles that will give me the opportunity to say something new that maybe I haven't said on stage before, or be a character that I can kind of sink into and either learn something that I don't know about myself, or kind of use it as therapy and work through some things. She hasn't had the easiest life, but she gets up and she does the thing every day, and she provides support for the people around her. And so it was all of that. Plus, I love Sarah Bareilles. I've loved her
Yes.
since the very beginning. I have defended her against people who said, "Oh, she just plays quarter notes," and whatever the people say. I am their, her biggest fan in the background, and getting to sing songs that came out of her brain is so cool. And she kind of brought something different to Broadway. Not that Broadway is this one thing, but I feel like we have trouble just describing the music because it's not really done. It's not really a period piece or like a super specific like Bright Star, or, it's got its own kind of place in the Broadway world. And, the Tonys, it was the Hamilton year, and they still did that thing, and Jessie Mueller. And, it's one of those roles that it was a bucket list role for me from before I even knew it would get to be done in a regional space. It was one of those roles that I was like, oh my God, to be Becky.
Yeah, it was definitely something. Like when I saw it, I was like, oh yeah, this is something that we'll do one day for sure. I get to see a lot of things, and the things I choose are usually like, what is this valid for us? Is this something that the theater center can one day produce, and how can we produce it? Which sometimes means like, yeah, we can do, the script is fine. We can't do all the bells and whistles that they have on Broadway sometimes. But this one is surprisingly, I think, really producible. I mean, it seems to be so far. Our biggest angst-ridden thing is pies. There's just a lot of pies.
Right. And which ones have to be edible?
Yeah, the eating on stage.
Yeah. So, but other than that, it's pretty producible. So I'm going to do one other little thing with you guys. We don't have much more time. Real quick, I'm going to hand you these blind
Okay.
questions. Look at those. Look them over. I'm going to give you a second to think about it and answer. And while you're thinking about it, I'm going to encourage our listeners. So we have coming up right now at the Chattanooga Theater Center auditions for Roald Dahl's Willy Wonka. It is the musical based on the 1971 film. For our holiday season, it's going to be epic and fun. I am directing it as well. We have auditions for that coming up September 23rd, 24th, and 25th. We went ahead and added a third day, taking a clue from Waitress that perhaps this might be a big title that people are interested in. It's the year of W musicals, apparently. And also, we want to encourage you, if there's a question that you have that you would like to know about the Theater Center or how we do things or anything about the shows that we're doing, if you want to email us at hello@theatercenter.com. That's theater, R-E, center, R-E. I know your phone will probably try to autocorrect that, but make sure that you're using those letters because otherwise we won't get it. But you can email our mailbag, let's say attention in the wings, and we'll answer your question someday. Maybe if we get it, we'll answer it on the air. All right, so you guys had a chance to look at your cards. What question? I don't even know what question you got. This is like question roulette, I call it.
I got, what's your favorite thing about what you do?
Okay, so that could be about your job or about performing here. What is your favorite thing about what do you do that is your favorite thing, I guess? Maybe a better way to rephrase it.
You probably wouldn't put data analysis and singing in a musical together.
Oh, I love it.
But I really like the investigation process. I like figuring out what the outcome we want looks like and then engineering a process to get there. And you have to be really curious and you have to be willing to try something and fully commit and then realize this does not work and now I have to start over. And so I like that process of finding out where we're going and what does that look like. And at the end, is it pretty and can I put it out there? Or was this just an exercise that we learn, okay, well, that did not look like what I anticipated. We go back to the drawing board. So I really like the whole process of investigation.
Nice. Actually, I'm always surprised at how much theater relates to other things in our lives and how the crossover and how that works. What about you, Lauren? What was your question?
My question is, are you an introvert or an extrovert? I'm definitely an introvert.
I am shocked and amazed.
I know. I'm a little bit soft-spoken, and I'm definitely a homebody. I like to stay home and, like, craft and hang out with my fiance and my dog. That's just so fun to me, but
people are probably surprised that introverts also like to be on stage and perform.
But
so
I guess that makes sense. But I guess for me, it's like me as Lauren, like, I'm an introvert, but, you know, there's another side of myself that can come out on stage where I'm, you know, stepping out of myself into a different person, which is fun.
And as a fellow introvert, it's a controlled environment.
Yes,
that's what I love about it.
It's like a little more safe. I'm like, oh, right. I know what's going to happen.
we practice being real human beings.
Yes.
So that we can pretend to be real human beings when people are watching.
Absolutely. That's that preparation. People are like, how do you just get up there and do it? I'm like, oh, no. There's no getting up there and doing it.
Please do not get up there and do it.
Doing it 48 times in preparation for every time that I do it once on stage.
Exactly. Thank you both for talking to me. It's been lovely. Be sure to get your tickets for Waitress, which opens September 13th.
Yes, it does.
And you can call our box office 423-267-8534. Or you can go to our website, www.theatercenter.com. That's theater, R-E, center, R-E. Thank you again. It was great talking to you.
Thank you.